All right, everyone. Now we need to talk about the Supreme Court. This is a very strange decision, actually, a 6-3 decision in favor of the Biden administration, link in the description, archived, of course, where they actually uphold the idea that the U.S. government is allowed to effectively coerce private companies, so tech sites basically, to censor U.S. taxpayers. I'm wondering exactly what the rationale is behind the decision. Alito wrote the dissent, and I think that he's right. He's like, blatantly violates the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It's quite clearly illegal, and I'm not exactly sure how the other 6 justices managed to arrive at their conclusion. Look, one of the things that I like to do is I like to try to play devil's advocate. I like to play little mind games sometimes. So I'll put my bias aside, and I'll try to imagine that I'm propping up an ideology, a group of people, an action, something like that, that I wouldn't normally support. So let's say that I was going to make a defense of communism or something like that. I like to do that because, number one, I find that it helps me become a more effective debater in public discourse. I think that makes me more effective as a communicator. And number two, it's just sort of funny. You're sort of arguing against yourself. Once you formulate those arguments, by the way, then you can nail them more effectively. So you'd say like, well, the Amish kind of have a communal system, and it sort of works. You just have to overlap it with generally ethnicity, number one, but also religion, number two. So communism can work if you're hyper-religious, I suppose. Well, the communists did develop the Charkov-Chanka, and there was some good technology and stuff like that. So you try to argue devil's advocate. But when I was looking at this decision, I couldn't really formulate any argument, and this is how you know that it's a stinker. I couldn't formulate any argument by which I could actually defend the decision. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Are you saying to me that the U.S. government is fundamentally allowed to go to a private company using taxpayer money, mind you, because these bureaus, I mean, who pays them? They're government agents. They're paid by the taxpayers. They're using taxpayers' money to stifle the free expression of taxpayers. That doesn't sound right to me. I think that this was a bad decision. They've made some bad decisions lately, by the way, like with their gun decision. They ignored their own prior decision. Clarence Thomas was the only holdout. They ignored their own prior decision with Bruen. They literally ignored their own Supreme Court decision, the same incarnation of the court, the exact same one, ignored its own prior position in order to argue, well, it's perfectly fine to take guns away from somebody on mere speculation over a civil case for which there's no criminal case at all. This Supreme Court is very, very hit or miss. Sometimes they nail it. For instance, I approved of the removal of Roe v. Wade. And I say this as someone who's pro-choice. I believe that a woman should have the right to choose. I believe that there's a proper cutoff for that. It's 14 weeks or thereabouts. It's agreed upon by most of the civilized world. That's perfectly fine. That was a good decision because it devolved it back into a states' rights issue. Bruen was a good decision. Bruen was proper. It said, look, you can't just simply, out of thin air, you can't just make up anti-gunnery laws because that's not allowed. The Second Amendment is not non-co-equal with the rest of the amendments, and so you have to respect it. With this decision, though, it seems like they're demoting the First Amendment. The U.S. government now is, the Biden administration can now go to Twitter, go to Facebook, fucking Zuckerberg was talking to Rogan about this. Christ, and Zuckerberg's not exactly an advocate of free speech. You're telling me that the U.S. government is allowed to go to the CEO of any tech company that it wants and say, remove this fucking shit because we don't like it. We find it to be unacceptable in some way, shape, or form. It's not illegal. It's not like we're not talking about spam. We're not talking about illicit porn or something like that. We're not talking about anything that's objectionable to the level of being illegal. We're not talking about Osama bin Laden has a Twitter account. We're talking about people simply stating their opinions. They may be objectionable to the average person. That's perfectly fine. I've always argued that we should argue with them. We should debate the point with people who have objectionable opinions. Just debate them. That's all you have to do. Look, we the citizens, we the people, are capable of taking care of it ourselves. We overwhelmingly reject opinions that would be conceived of as so-called extreme and stuff like that. We're capable of doing it ourselves. Some of us are really good at debating. The Biden administration, not so much. And apparently the Supreme Court, neither. This is blatant censorship. It's blatantly illegal. I have no clue how they arrived at this 6-3 conclusion with regards to this case. It's completely inexplicable. This court has generally been, in its current incarnation, generally been fairly good. That is, that most of the decisions that they've made, like with the Chevron deference, I expect that they'll down federal bureaucracy with that one. That'll be a good decision too. I hope that it comes in soon. Generally speaking, they've been reasonable. They've been sane. They've made decisions that kind of make sense. This one, I can't find any way that I could possibly defend the decision that they've made. And Alito, again, writing in the dissent, is like, well, this is basically, it's a travesty. I don't even know what my colleagues are fucking doing at this point. He seems to be confused over the decision itself. I'm confused too. You're telling me that the government is... So they're not allowed to force a site to censor me, but they're allowed to coerce them into censoring me by winking and nudging and saying, well, it's basically mafioso when you think about it. It would be a shame if your site got audited by the IRS. It would be a shame if your knee was broken backwards or something like that. It's literally Mafia Tactics. You know, I'm not saying that I'm threatening you in any way, shape, or form, but your business could burn down. That would be a shame. But if you pay me money, to make sure that someone's posted outside your business, it'll be perfectly fine. How is this any different? This is literally the mafioso version of the U.S. government, and it should not exist in any way, shape, or form. I say this, number one, as a content creator. I'm literally pegged to this. It's a personal issue for me because I'm already fucked by the algorithms on YouTube. Not on Twitter so much anymore, but certainly I'm on the shit list of multiple sites, of multiple groups of people that are in with the U.S. government, and so it affects me personally. It affects my ability to make money, to provide for my family, etc., etc. Moreover, it affects my ability to simply express myself. The First Amendment is also co-equal. I mean, the same court that uses Bruin to say, well, the Second Amendment is not subjugate any more than any of these other enumerated rights. Okay, good. Why are you subjugating the First Amendment then, the right to free expression in the same sense? I mean, it's the inversion of Bruin. It doesn't make any sense. Their decision is completely crazy. I can't make heads or tails of it, actually. I mean, I'm confused myself. That's about all. Peace out.